Before Vikir underwent regression, despair descended upon the tranquil world. Gates linking the demon realm and the human realm materialized in the sky. This event marked the onset of the demon invasion, forever etched in history as the Fall. These gates were opened by the 10 elite demons who descended first into the abyss. These entities were famously dubbed the 10 Elite Corpses. In Vikir's former existence, during a prolonged and grueling conflict against the demons, he confronted one of these 10 elite corpses. Wounded and relying on his sword for stability, he gazed upwards and beheld a demon materialize on the cliff's edge. The demon's sudden presence wrought havoc and despair. Among the 671 individuals engaged in the battles, a staggering 666 perished, leaving only 5 survivors. 4 were rendered unconscious, leaving just 1 conscious soul to witness the looming demon. As the demon closed in on Vikir, he sank to his knees. Locking eyes with the entity, Vikir's countenance underwent a profound transformation, his features contorted by a rising tide of terror. The demon's decision to spare Vikir's life was merely a capricious gesture, aiming to maintain the death toll at 666. With a menacing aura emanating from his form, the demon pivoted, unfurling his wings as he departed. All Vikir could recall was the overwhelming might of the high-ranking demon from the 10 elite corpses, a force of pure annihilation. As Vikir locked eyes with Andromalius, he couldn't help but reflect on the improbable encounter he had with one of the 10 elite corpses roughly a decade prior. Observing Andromalius tend to his arm wound, Vikir met his gaze, pondering the thoughts swirling in his mind. Glancing to the side, he beheld the grisly sight of children's skeletons, remnants of those devoured by the demons. Examining the bones, some still stained with blood, he couldn't shake the thought that these were the remains of the innocent children consumed by Andromalius. Anger surged within him, his very presence exuding a palpable aura of fury. With a gaze full of malice, Vikir locked eyes with Andromalius. Andromalius rising slowly, he brought his left hand to his chin, fixing his demonic gaze upon his foe. A sinister smile played upon his lips as he inquired whether Andromalius felt rage upon witnessing the children's remains. In response, Andromalius extended his hand, revealing several fingers grotesquely transformed into remnants of the children he had consumed. The pinky finger twisted into the form of a child's mouth. The ring finger contorted into a nose, the middle finger morphed into strands of hair, and the index finger shifted into skin. Andromalius reassured Vikir not to fret, explaining that the children were alive and ensconced within his essence. He further claimed the ability to resurrect them should Vikir desire it. Reciting incantations in the ancient tongue of demons, Andromalius initiated a ritual, prompting the children's forms to gradually manifest from within his own being. Vikir watched in silent bewilderment, attempting to comprehend Andromalius's intentions. As the distorted visages of the children emerged from Andromalius's form, they began to plead for assistance. Witnessing the disturbing spectacle, Vikir's anger boiled over, compelling him to wield the Beelzebub's sword once more. With a swift stroke, he severed Andromalius's only remaining arm. Andromalius, helpless against the impending strike, collapsed to his knees, writhing in agony. The damage inflicted upon his soul by the Beelzebub's sword left him vulnerable and tormented. Observing Andromalius's suffering, Vikir took perverse pleasure in the demon's torment. Then Vikir assured him that there was no need to fret over the fate of the children, as the deceased cannot be resurrected. As Andromalius, now bereft of both hands, gazed downward with an anxious countenance, he let out a piercing scream, overwhelmed by the excruciating pain. Suddenly, his body became enveloped in a demonic aura, and to Vikir's astonishment, the 2 severed hands began to regenerate. With a smug smile, Andromalius gazed into Vikir's eyes and explained the phenomenon of regeneration. Rising from the ground, he began to brush off his pants while acknowledging that they both harbored numerous secrets. Vikir, maintaining silence, offered no response. Andromalius commended Vikir's intellect, noting that even Osiris had only attained the level of a graduate at the age of 30, while Vikir had accomplished this feat at the tender age of 17. It was evident to Andromalius that Vikir had become an unprecedented anomaly. With a gesture, Andromalius extended his hand to the side, its form beginning to shift gradually. Andromalius pondered that with Vikir wielding the Beelzebub sword, the weapon of the Lord of Demons, he could potentially pose a significant threat to demons in the future. After a brief pause, his hand morphed into a sharp blade. He directed it toward Vikir, locking eyes with him as a smile crept across his face, disclosing his intention to end Vikir's life on the spot. Upon hearing Andromalius's declaration, Vikir swiftly drew the Beelzebub sword. With a gaze filled with vengeance, he vowed to avenge all the children devoured by the demon. Their eyes locked for a tense moment, thickening the air with anticipation. Then, without further ado, the clash ensued as they both lunged at each other, swords in hand, ready for battle. Locking eyes with Andromalius, Vikir initiated his assault with the Beelzebub sword. However, he was taken aback as Andromalius effortlessly parried all his strikes. Sporting a devilish grin, Andromalius retaliated, but Vikir adeptly defended against every blow. As their blades clashed, Vikir couldn't help but smile inwardly, reflecting on his second name, Van. With their gazes locked, it was evident that there was a considerable power gap between them. In this realm, where collateral and legitimate heirs were limited to mastering only up to the fourth technique, Andromalius pressed his advantage, driving Vikir back with his superior strength. Vikir realized the challenge before him, facing an opponent capable of wielding the sixth technique. Andromalius unleashed the onslaught of cuts with the sixth Baskerville technique, each strike closing in on Vikir. Initially observing, Vikir's eyes sparked with determination, and within moments, he countered with the sixth Baskerville technique, successfully parrying every incoming attack. Witnessing Vikir's proficiency with the sixth Baskerville technique, Andromalius was astounded and pondered how Vikir had knowledge of such an advanced skill. Smirking, he anticipated that Vikir harbored further hidden abilities. Suddenly, part of Andromalius's face morphed into a flexible, razor-sharp sword. With a smile, he launched a surprise attack, wielding both swords with precision aimed at Vikir. Using the Beelzebub sword, he parried Andromalius's sword strike, yet the flexible blade inched perilously close to his eye. With a lethal glare, he focused on the approaching sword. Suddenly, the Beelzebub sword's blade ignited with intense mana. Andromalius's expression swiftly shifted from satisfaction to sheer surprise as he beheld the unexpected surge of power emanating from the sword. The mana emanating from the sword surged with such intensity that it caused even Andromalius's hair to flutter wildly. Capitalizing on the momentum, Vikir unleashed the seventh Baskerville technique, delivering a devastating blow that shattered Andromalius's sword and sent it flying backward. The force of Vikir's strike struck Andromalius squarely in the abdomen, eliciting a spurt of blood from his mouth. Andromalius found himself perplexed, contemplating how Vikir could possess knowledge of the closely guarded seventh Baskerville technique, a skill typically reserved for the Baskerville family head. Despite his astonishment, Vikir pressed forward with relentless determination, closing the distance between them with alarming speed. His eyes bore into Andromalius's with a lethal intensity, while the aura surrounding the Beelzebub's sword intensified, casting an ominous glow. With a forceful strike, Vikir plunged the sword into Andromalius's abdomen, generating a dense curtain of smoke within the cave. As the haze gradually dissipated, it revealed Vikir's blade embedded deeply in the demon's chest, a testament to the devastating power of the attack. As Andromalius writhed in agony, Vikir leaned in and delivered a biting truth. Demons, in their arrogance, often underestimated humans. With a smirk, he taunted Andromalius, exposing the vulnerability of even the most cunning demon to deception. Andromalius met his gaze with a clenched jaw, his frustration palpable. In disbelief, Andromalius grappled with the fact that a mere human dared to mock him in such a manner. Despite the heroes who had sealed the door and ended the age of destruction, they had failed to fully condemn the 10 elite demons. But now, the circumstances were different, as the fall had not yet commenced. In an era where the 10 elite demons still harbored their power, reluctant to reveal it to humans, Vikir leaned in close to Andromalius's ear and divulged that he had grasped the situation entirely. This revelation left Andromalius bewildered, uncertain of what Vikir was referring to. Andromalius found himself caught off guard, his expression reflecting surprise as he glanced at Vikir. Vikir elucidated that the scheme orchestrated by the demon masquerading as Set aimed to bridge the human realm with the demon realm. Thus, thwarting the plan by eliminating the 10 demons would avert the impending cataclysm. As Vikir's body emanated potent mana, the gravity of their situation intensified. With a gaze filled with malice, Vikir conveyed that eliminating the 10 demons would bring him a sense of solace. Andromalia's countenance shifted abruptly, fear now etched across his features. Pondering why he harbored apprehension towards a mere human, anger surged within him, causing his teeth to clench tightly. In that instant, Andromalius hurled a curse at Vikir, his body radiating a demonic aura. Sensing imminent danger, Vikir swiftly distanced himself from the demon. Suddenly, Andromalius' form contorted into a crimson sphere bristling with thorns, crafted from blood itself. Vikir quickly retreated several meters, his hand raised in a defensive gesture. He fixed his gaze on Andromalius, pondering the nature of the blood thorns encasing him. Gradually, the thorns receded, revealing Andromalius' legs after a few tense seconds. Andromalius inquired of Vikir, expressing disbelief that he would reveal his true form to a mere human. Vikir remained silent, his expression unreadable. After a tense pause, the blood-formed sphere vanished, revealing Andromalius in his demon guise complete with horns, fangs, claws, and goat-like legs, all accompanied by a sinister grin. Andromalius fixed his gaze on Vikir and disclosed that the demon form before him was his true essence. He acknowledged Vikir's unexpected strength with a raised hand, while Vikir remained silent, absorbing the revelation. Suddenly, Andromalius extended his hand toward Vikir, each finger morphing into devilish serpents. Gradually, the serpents slithered closer to Vikir. Initially, he remained motionless for a few moments, but then swiftly employed Baskerville's 7th technique. With the Beelzebub sword, he deftly severed the heads of several serpents under Andromalius's control. Despite losing some of his serpentine minions, Andromalius remained resolute, refusing to yield. Sporting a malevolent grin, Andromalius extended his other hand towards Vikir, summoning more serpents that slithered menacingly in his direction. As the serpents launched their assault, Vikir swiftly employed the 7th technique, gracefully evading their strikes and decapitating them with precision. While he focused on dodging their onslaught, a serpent darted from behind, hurtling towards him with alarming speed. In a swift motion, Vikir, caught off guard by the serpent's stealth, felt the searing pain as it sank its fangs into his shoulder. Reacting swiftly, he pivoted and with the Beelzebub sword, severed the serpent's head. Witnessing Vikir's reaction, Demon Andromalius grinned triumphantly, halting his onslaught of serpents. With a hand casually resting on his hip, Andromalius fixed his gaze on Vikir, extending his other hand to convey that the battle had concluded. Vikir, puzzled, touched the bite on his shoulder, questioning Andromalius's claim as the wound seemed inconsequential to him. Andromalius, the demon, extended his palm, radiating an ominous aura as a demonic mouth materialized in its center. With a technique known as infinite blood absorption, he began draining Vikir's blood through the snake bite wounds, leaving Vikir bewildered and unaware of what was occurring. Stretching out his hand, Andromalius directed the demonic mouth to suck the blood flowing from Vikir's wounds. As he drew closer, his other hand remained on Vikir's head, maintaining eye contact. With a grin, Andromalius disclosed his power to manipulate blood, all the while continuing to drain Vikir's life force. He further asserted that his abilities were unparalleled when facing living creatures. As Vikir's blood gushed from his shoulder, he stood stoically, his gaze unwavering. Andromalius then disclosed that Vikir's blood would continue to drain until he was entirely depleted, leaving him a lifeless husk. He was identified as the 10th corpse known as Andromalius, rated with an S-level risk with an unspecified size. Discovered deep within the Gate of Destruction, dubbed the Snake's Womb, this demon was notorious under the alias of the 10th corpse. As a natural adversary of humanity, he was one of the 10 calamities deemed inscrutable and indomitable.